Wow. And everybody's here sharing with us, so thank you so much. I want you to give her a great big hand.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I had to step out of the room because I had a really long business call. Anyway, to get refocused. Thank you for having me, by the way. This is my first conference with WEL. I now know it's called WEL. I didn't know that before. But I actually wrote a really short reflection right after the meeting, and then Preeti had texted me and said, you really need to come now. And I was like, okay. I didn't get to finish it, but I just wanted to share with you what I wrote before I get into a little bit of my presentation. So the reflection I feel is important in that I like to acknowledge every person's contribution and consideration of their time to spend here, not just with me, but with each other. I think that there is a blessing in that we are all here today. We're alive, we're well, and we're safe, and that's important. So my reflection goes, this gathering is focused on women's leadership, empowerment, collaboration, and unwavering support for women-led businesses. And it is also inclusive of all genders and people of various backgrounds. This event is truly an inspirational experience, enriched by original, thoughtful, creative, and exceptional people, all of you. I have the pleasure of meeting and connecting with remarkable individuals who will leave a lasting impact on me and who are also motivating my entrepreneurial journey. And that's my little quick I will preface my talk by saying that I feel actually very blessed to be here with you today. Exactly 4 weeks ago, I was in a really terrible car accident. And I'm actually still regaining control of the left side of my body. So if I were to use a color to describe how much pain I'm in, and one of the reasons why I needed to step out of the room is because I was beginning to have a pretty high pain disposition. So I didn't want to sit there and have you see that. So I went upstairs and I had to take this call for a long time, but I was able to, recenter myself and what's called self-regulate. So one of the things that I wanted to also express was that I have already learned so much from all of your various backgrounds, all of your learned, living, unlived experiences. I think they contribute so much to my own being as a human person, living in this world, breathing, trying to go forward in probably the worst economic and political times that I have known myself. And I will say that because I do find myself at odds with absolutely everything that's happening. I am an environmentalist by training. I'm a scientist as well by training, but I'm also a really strong human advocate on behalf of people who oftentimes don't have a voice for themselves. And in my little video, you're going to see one of those people who actually don't have a voice for himself. But I tried to work with him, and it was remarkable the things that he was able to do. So I'll just go straight into the video, if possible. Do I? Could you help me navigate? I'm not good at these things. Oh, there we are. Okay, so now, good. So I just press this thing at the top?
Yeah, the second.
The second one, okay. All right, so all this is really a presentation of a case that I worked on some time ago. This little boy, just to let you know, he is autistic by nature. He wasn't very verbal. I wouldn't say that he was nonverbal. He wasn't very verbal for most of his life. He lacked interaction with his family. even his close members, even his mom. And they were just at odds with themselves. They didn't know what else to do. And they found out about me through word of mouth, through people who began to understand what I was doing in this organization I called Together in Unity, which I created that actual name to kind of embrace everyone from all walks of life and all origins. Anyway, so I'll just give you a little rundown of this. Oh, here we are. So meet Keshav. He's my little friend. His favorite movies are It's a Bug's Life, Ice Age, and Toy Story. His favorite animals are Bunny, 4 baby chicks, real ones, which he owns, and his piggy. Keshav was actually, he's from the island of Trinidad and Tobago. I do travel around the world to work with individuals who have neurodevelopmental diversity. I work one-on-one with them, as well as autistic teenagers who are usually nonverbal. And I usually do a little bit of a case history on them. So regarding Keshav, he was about 24 months when he was diagnosed with autism, which is relatively a normal time for them to be diagnosed, a little bit after 1.5 to 2 years old. A lot of times people are not aware that the child may have autism because they may present with many different feelings or emotions or just what's called acting out, tantrum status in schools, and that's really hard behaviorally. So, you know, he was unwilling to follow rules. He was unwilling to do exactly as they said. He appeared to be doing other things while the lesson was being taught. He was taken to see an occupational therapist, and they suggested a special needs school, and so on and so forth. His harder moments actually was that he would hit, he would shout, he would headbutt, he had tantrums. His mom, a very patient lady, would just let him be on his own for a bit. She wasn't harsh with him, which thank God she wasn't. But his family also actually had a farm. And the wonderful thing about that is that I have the couple of degrees that I have, the longest one, the doctorate degree, which I worked on for 11 years of my life while I had my 2 small kids, and they grew up during that time. And then I became a single mother along that time as well. So a lot of life changes, but I studied health and behavior studies. But I have 2 other master's degrees, one in environmental sciences conservation and the other in health communication and health sciences. So I was able to look at this particular case and say to myself, okay, he has access to the environmental world around him, which is a farm, and he is going to a regular school because his mom doesn't want him to be, to feel like he's a moron because he's being sent to a special needs school. Because oftentimes people who have neurodevelopmental diversity, believe it or not, are seen as if they're like aliens. They're not seen as normal. So I know I'm using those terms very loosely, but I'm actually speaking from a mindset of just truth and honesty, because I just don't believe in beating around the bush. I just feel like you should just label things, like say it as you see it, and that's how people are treated. They're treated as lesser human beings, and I have a big problem with that. So I'm one of those people that will look for ways in which that person's voice gets to be heard. And that person is no longer judged, and they no longer have to sort of fit in with everybody else around them, when clearly they're meant to stand out. So the important part about this particular slide is regarding the fact that in relating with Keshav, I learned about what he needed to self-regulate. I learned about his problems, but I also learned about what's called effective engagement, reciprocity, shared intentions, how he responds with interest, assertively or passively, and so on and so forth. So these types of things actually are foundational. They're studied in neuroscience, they're studied in health sciences. pretty extensively. But this is just an example of taking it out of the scientific literature and utilizing it in a way that any person, any family would be able to understand what that means, right? Anybody looking at it. So like, let's say if they wanted to get help for this child through other means, maybe through a specialized group or through even a group of parents advocating for their own children, and someone else would read this and say, oh, well, maybe this is, this looks similar to what I've seen. So the important part was this part right here, Keisha's buddy. I became his buddy. I was the first person, apparently, that he had a conversation with. The very first person. And it's funny because after I stepped off the plane, and it was a very long flight, unfortunately, I had a number of delays. It was like 13 hours by the time I physically got to their home address. That was really hard. But when I got there, and he didn't know who I was, so they obviously, as the family, they offered me something to drink, and we sat down. And he immediately came and sat next to me. And then when we were having our little water or juice or whatever, he lifted his glass and he said, "Cheers!" And I was, "Cheers!" And his parents laughed in a way that they were releasing so much emotions. His mother was in tears. And I couldn't understand at first what happened. I was like, why is she crying? But I realized why she was crying after the fact. It was the first time that he had connected with someone, that he had actually started speaking in sentences. He started drawing with me. He started showing me things that he built on his own. He just started doing that. And I realized that there is something really profound about connecting with people you're trying to help. It's recognizing first and foremost that they deserve respect. We all deserve respect. So if we're going to give a message to someone or we're going to help them, we need to position ourselves as respectful people. So regardless of whether they're this small or this whatever, tall or old or whatever, we need to understand that people deserve to be respected for who they are. Not what we want them to be, but who they are. We need to meet them in the place where they are. Keisha's communication actually became much more, I would say, resounding, much more very active. In health communication, environmental sustainability work, what is integrated is something referred to as, well, what's enlightened design, where the design of the environment contributes to the natural processing of human emotions in their natural state, meaning they aren't forced, they're fluid, they're flowing. One of the main tenets of health communication and environmental sustainability is the role of actively listening, adhering to what the needs are of the community in which you work, with environmental justice, awareness, and advocacy. Now, the reason why these things are actually really important is that even in our society today, we are actually having to look at situations where we are finding ourselves in these types of social justice situations, environmental justice situations, and we need to embrace them, and we need to stand up for them and advocate for them. I go on to say here about the complex communication and shared problem solving and so forth. A lot of that's just based on observational data, but the one thing that really stood out to me was he anticipated the sound of my voice. So I use something called what's called intonation. So I can go hi, and I could go loo, and I could go really loudly, or I could go really softly. So the way that I realized I was able to interact with him was by the way in which I use my voice, the way I interact with anybody. So if I'm going to say that I'm going to tell myself I need to connect with this child, then I need to understand how does that child communicate. Not how I want him to communicate. It's not about me. It's about him. And that in and of itself, for me at least, was like an eye-opening point into my world. These have more to do with sensory integration, the process by which we look at neurodevelopmental diversity, as well as autistic individuals. One of the main reasons why I'm also focusing on that is because I feel like in our society today, we were talking about that, like that was in the mainstream talk. Like let's welcome and let's embrace neurodevelopmental diversity. And all of a sudden we're not. Mm-hmm. So I did find that to be very wrong. And I think it's something that we need to advocate more for, because there are people who present with dispositions in their health status that mean that maybe they're suffering. Like, I mean, I was sitting over there, and honestly, like I said, if I had a color, which by the way, I'm writing a book and it's about colors, if everybody could have a color when they wake up about how they feel, we wouldn't even have to be like, oh, they're having a bad day. Look at how much pain she's in. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you could see colors all around my body, you would be like, oh, well, that's what that color means. That's what, okay, now I get it. Do you understand? So it's not reducing us to color, but it's a way of saying, boy, I wish we could communicate so much better when we're having a bad day, rather than like, a big frown, like just carrying around a big frown, because our world could be falling apart, because I know like 4 weeks ago, my world fell apart, literally fell apart. I'm in a choir, and we were going to sing at this place that I had never been to before. And, of course, I don't want to be late, so I left an hour earlier. Why did I do that? I don't know. But a whole hour earlier, I didn't get lost. It's just that when I was making the turn from the U-turn, this lady who had 2 kids in her car, I don't want to say that she ran the red light, so let's just not say that she ran the red light, because that would just make me so... Anyway, she didn't run the red light. She was just going faster than normal. And I made my U-turn, and the church entrance was right there, and I was about to... And then she just... boom. And that's why I say that it's literally a pure miracle that I'm here today. I don't have a car anymore. but I'm here. I'm alive. I'm alive. And I can speak. And I can finally move the left side of my body a lot better now. So it's good news all around. That's another thing about individual differences and looking at different types of neurodevelopmental diversity, autism in particular. Just you can take a picture of that if that's helpful for you. So this is important. My level of affect, bringing it up a notch, making use of more gestural communication, intonation, rhythm, and voice, using different body postures to emphasize my excitement or my expression, and so on and so forth. Okay, my self-reflection of working with Keisha. As a health communication and environmental sustainability consultant, health and behavior studies informs my goal to employ that's a typo, theories in the lived environment through lived experiences. There's a researcher by the name of Glanz, talks about self-efficacy as one's degree of confidence and the ability to perform the behavior in the face of various obstacles or challenges. So my health self-efficacy today is at 100. So basically, I ended here autism is a way of life and a way of being, a way of knowing, a way of doing, and I would also include a way of inspiring, which had inspired me. So that's that part of the presentation. So I was wondering, I wanted to do something a little bit non-traditional, seeing that I'm that person. Do you mind all getting up and just maybe forming like a huge circle around the whole room, like where we can hold hands together? I was just wondering if that would be okay. Like however you can, whether you do it like here, and we just make a huge, massive mama circle right here. Oh wow, I love this tree. I love it. It's like, yeah. Have you ever seen that thing where it says rock the boat, it goes rock the boat? I really think she's right. New York's here, great. Okay, so what I want us to do with this is I want us to repeat the words I can, and I will, and nothing is going to stop me. Yay!